Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rich Walling. I'm the director of the Old Bridge Village Heritage Center, which, although it says Old Bridge in its title, is actually located in the Old Bridge Historic District of East Brunswick. But today we are here to encompass with other organizations the memory, the service, the sacrifice of our grandfather and great-grandfather's generation. Today at the East Brunswick Library, we are having a program about the New Jersey connection with the famous Harlem Hellfighters, an all-black regiment of World War I. Edgar Ahrens, who served in the Harlem Hellfighters. His dad was Jamaican-born. He was born just before the turn of the century. When he was on a British ship in Egypt, the ship had shipwrecked. The British captain took off, leaving the crew to fend for themselves. Young Edgar Ahrens went to the British consulate looking for passage back to England. They took a look at it. Oh, you're an Egyptian. You're just trying to scam your way back to England for free passage. Edgar went to the American consulate. The American consulate said, sure, we'll help you. And then and there, Edgar said, and this is in a newspaper article, by the way, that he wrote, Edgar said, whatever I can do to repay your kindness, I will do. In 1914, he was in Germany as part of a British ship crew. They were in German ports. He saw the preparation of war that Germany was amassing before any hint of a conflict on the continent of Europe. He saw machinery. He saw troops being gathered. He saw shipping being made and 2 new ships launched. And when he asked what was going on, a German steward said, oh, well, we plan to conquer France, and once France is done, we plan to conquer England, and then maybe America. And Edgar was like, what? So, in 1917, America finally entered the war on the right side. Pardon any German friends who might be here. Edgar left England. He came to the United States in 1917. He made his way to New York City, and he enlisted in the 15th New York National Guard. It was the only regiment, black combat regiment, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's the only regiment of African-American men that was trained for combat, besides a couple of other additional National Guard units scattered across the country. But at this time, I asked Len if he had had any of his dad's stuff. And Len said, not really. So, I went to the internet, and Len, I don't know if you're able to stand, or I'll just be right next to you. Len says he's in his 80s. I said he looks more like 60. But this is Len Ahrens. Len, I'm very, very happy to give you 3 things. Number 1, this is his dad's military service record. This is the, I'm sorry, but the image from the newspaper, this is like a 3rd or 4th generation image of the original photograph, so it's not a pristine photograph. But this is his dad's picture in his World War I kit, as the guys used to say. The Harlem Hellfighters began as a New York National Guard unit out of the city of New York, hence the nickname the Harlem Hellfighters. And right before war was declared, they became a federal unit, and they were recruited up to war strength. They went from 1,200 men to 1,300 to 2,000 men, and among the men who served were more than 200 New Jersey volunteers. And today we're honoring the memory of all the Jersey men who served in that regiment, many of whom lost their lives. Who were living in racially mixed neighborhoods. In 1917, 15-year-old Needham was working in a drugstore. With all the talk of war, he tried to enlist. Son, you're too young. Tried again. Son, you're too young. Finally, he was asked by his dad, son, can you take the money down to the town hall and pay our poll tax? So Needham took the poll tax money, went up to the railroad station, hopped the train to New York City, went up to Brooklyn, said I'm 19, and was enlisted in the 15th New York National Guard. So, at age 15, he joined the Army. Anybody in here age 15? Can you imagine joining the Army when you're 15?
I know a guy in 13.
Yeah. 13. Now, The 15th New York National Guard arrived at Brest, France in late December of 1917, and the regiment was immediately put to work building roads, dams, and a battalion was sent to guard German prisoners. As a combat regiment, it chafed at labor work. Finally, after 2 months of lobbying by Colonel Hayward and pressure by the French military command, the regiment was temporarily loaned to the French. It trained for several weeks before it was put into combat. Although it did not participate in those early months in any over-the-top infantry assaults, trench warfare necessitated the establishment of listening posts between the lines. And between the lines was, as most of us know, is called no man's land. According to Johnson's account, at around 1 a.m., a German sniper opened fire on the post. Johnson anticipated more trouble, and he took a box of grenades and he laid out 30 grenades in front of him, just in case there was any trouble. At 2 o'clock, he heard Germans cutting the wire in his front. So he sent Roberts in an adjoining sentry post to alert the troops. Johnson lobbed a grenade and surprised the Dutchman. He began firing. So he called back Roberts, but Roberts was soon incapacitated by a German grenade. Roberts could not stand, but he was able to pass grenades to Johnson. When the grenades were exhausted, Johnson grabbed his rifle, he inserted an American clip in his French rifle, and it jammed. He then banged on them on the dome and on the side and everywhere I could land until the butt of my rifle broke. Next, he resorted to his bolo knife. I slashed in a million directions, he said. Each slash meant something, believe me. He admitted that the Germans knocked me around quite considerable and wanged me on the head, but I always managed to get back on my feet. One German was bothering him more than others, so eventually threw him over his head and stabbed him in the ribs. I stuck one guy in the stomach, Johnson continued. With the enemy in his front disposed of for the moment, Johnson looked over to his left where Roberts was. He saw that the 2 Germans were lifting Roberts up to take him as a prisoner. With an upward spring, Johnson landed on the shoulders of the Germans. He buried his bolo knife into the skull of one German and then plunged it into the gut of the other. As the Germans retreated, both Johnson and Roberts, although both severely wounded, continued to pelt them with grenades. With daylight, the Americans found 4 dead Germans on the battlefield and evidence of up to 24 additional Germans who had been involved in the fight. The Americans recovered 38 potato masher grenades, rifles, bayonets, and pistols, and the Germans are said to thereafter designated the African American troops as bloodthirsty black men. The French dubbed them Hellfighters. The heroism of Johnson was spread in newspapers all across America, and both men were recognized and feted as genuine heroes. The French awarded Johnson and Roberts the Croix de Guerre with special citation, and this was France's highest award for bravery. They were the first 2 American soldiers in the war to receive the Croix de Guerre. Pershing sent a congratulatory note. The mayor of Trenton did likewise. Needham was sent home due to his wounds, and he gave speeches about his fight all across America. But war and wartime exploits pass, and with it, the fame and opportunities of the moment. Thanks, Steve. The event is being co-sponsored by 4 organizations: the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society of the New Jersey chapter, the East Brunswick Human Relations Council, the New Brunswick area branch of the NAACP, and the Old Bridge Village Heritage Center, which is situated here in East Brunswick.